I'm your host, Nick Toka. Today is April 30th, 2025, and you read it right. OG Adam Back says a $200 trillion Bitcoin market cap is now in play as a Bitcoin Hyperbitcoinization takes shape. Yeah. Investors increase crypto allocations to yearly highs, and Bitcoin leads the accumulation. And also, what's next for BitcoinPrice as BlackRock moves to launch a $150 billion fund. All this and so much more on today's show. Welcome, folks, to CryptoNews Global, where our aim is to make a hell of a lot of cash. Let's get right into Bitcoin TNA. We've got Bitcoin sitting sideways today, 94,840. Ethereum up 1%, 1816. Solana up 2.5%, 149 bucks. XRP down 1.25%, $2.21. Sui down 0.75%, $3.51, and Doge even at 17 cents. Crypto Bubbles telling us in the past hour things are about 50-50 mixing. For the day, we've got Fartcoin smelling it up, 13%. Virtual up 22%. Pi still alive, up 8% today. Zooming out to the weekly, we've got Pudgy Penguins up 7%, Virtual up 133%, Bonk 36%, Floki 27%, Layer 38%. We're starting to see some nice pumps for the week again. And zooming out to the monthly, we have very nice, about 85%, we'll call it, in the green, including the smelly Fartcoin up 160% for the week. Damn. Pudgy Penguins, Pengu up 111%, Virtual up 181%, Lair 105%. Take a look at the total hash rate, and we see that the Bitcoin price has matched the hash rate at this point, and the saying goes that the price follows the hash. So we see that they've actually met right here about 3-4 days ago, and I suspect that the hash rate's also going to take a pump up very soon. Looking at the M2 global money supply, we've got, as you see, a very, very close correlation between Bitcoin price and the M2. The M2 is in pink. And let's zoom right in here and check out how closely this line is with the Bitcoin price. Pretty much from here to here. Looking at this entire streak, in fact. And we have, generally, it's about 60 days. They've actually calculated it at 56 to 60 days. Can you frickin' believe that? So tightly predicted that the price of Bitcoin will follow hash rate. And we see, what is this, February, beginning of February, March, April, beginning of May. So we're actually talking 3 months according to this chart. So let's go with what the chart's actually showing us. I read, they were pretty tight with this prediction, 56 to 60 days, but I'm not seeing that. Let's not bullshit ourselves here. I'm seeing from, we'll call it February 1st, March, April. You know what? Who am I kidding? It is 2 months. It's exactly 62 days? Holy fuck, they were bang on. All right, I just can't count. But now that we've gone back and counted twice, it is pretty damn close. So let's see what happens over the next few days with the M2 money supply. This is data from the top 21 central banks. We don't like the central bankers around here, but we can definitely gain some information and understanding from looking at this M2 money supply and checking out where this goes. Often the biddy will go, and in fact, if we zoom back out, forget often, almost every time we see the biddy following pretty damn closely with this M2 money supply. So I'd like to get a closer look. I'm going to find another chart coming up one day, and this is a very nice chart, but it would be nice to see an up-to-date M2 money supply chart, and I want to see if we can get some that are closer to our current time so we can see what might be happening in the future. That's going to help us out more than a 60-day rewind, because by the time we look at the 60-day chart, the price is already pumping. Total market cap for Bitcoin right now sitting at $1.88 trillion, Ethereum $219 billion, XRP $129 billion, Solana $77 billion, Doge $26 billion, Cardano $24 billion, Tron $23 billion, and let's go to number 11. Let's go all the way down to 13 because I really like AVAX. SUI, number 11, $11 billion, 400,000. Chainlink, market cap, $9.6 billion. And AVAX, $8.8 trillion market cap. Check out the total market cap for the industry, $2.92 trillion, with Bitcoin holding 64.5% of that. Ethereum, 7.5%. XRP 4.5%. Currently, Crypto Fear and Greed Index shows us a 53 in neutral. Yesterday was a 56 in neutral, and last week a 63 in greed. There are 1,078 days left until the next Bitcoin halving 2028, with 155,328 blocks left to mine. And the assets by market cap globally, we've got gold down again. Now, it's interesting, I've talked about this quite a bit, how people might start dumping their gold into the digital gold Bitcoin. And interesting, the market cap was almost at 24 trillion at one point a couple weeks ago in gold. And right when the day of the tariffs, or a few days after that, and everybody was pulling their money out of the US dollar, pulling their money out of bonds, pulling their money out of the stock market, and putting them into gold. And now, interestingly enough, gold is, their market cap is right back to where it was pre-tariff scare. 21 trillion, 800 billion. Apple, number 2, 3.1 trillion. Microsoft, 2.9 trillion. Nvidia, 2.6 trillion. Amazon, we'll call it 2 trillion. Google, 1.9 trillion. Biddy at 1.873 trillion at number 7. Just above silver, 1.834 trillion. Saudi Aramco, 1.6 trillion. And Fuckbook, $1.4 trillion. You can currently get 1,054 Satoshis for one US fiat dollar. And the US national debt shows us currently at 36 trillion, 792 billion, which has risen yet again per citizen. Hello, fellow citizens, you owe a shitload of money, 107,506 per citizen, and per taxpayer, 323,049. Looking at the Doge savings clock, they have saved $378 billion, which equals to $3,372 per U.S. taxpayer. 3372. Let's multiply that by 4 because it's been about 3 months. It's 100 days. So let's pull it out to the yearly, and we've got $33.99. They're saving approximately $13,500 to $14,000 per year per taxpayer. So if you have, got the regular nuclear family, husband and wife, couple kids, and there's 2 incomes in your family, or actually per taxpayer. Everybody's a taxpayer, right? Unless you're under 18, you would think. But so that's equaling almost $30,000 a year they've saved a household of 2 adults. Damn. Be thankful for these guys. Stop burning the frickin' cars, people. I don't know what you're thinking over there, but you're basically driving that guy out of Doge and back into his company because you're fucking around with his company. Now he's got to go take care of Tesla instead of taking care of the government, which clearly under Biden and under the Dems couldn't take care of themselves. So, not too sure what to say there. It's almost as dumb as the Canadians with voting this Carney meatloaf. Just a little ridiculous what's going on right now, quite honestly. But things just keep on ticking. You know, countries falling, countries rising, and we just keep on ticking, folks. Keep on going, keep positive, and stay steady with the biddy. Investors sure are. They are increasing crypto allocations to yearly highs, and Bitcoin leads this accumulation. Of course it does. The report attributed to increase to recent price movements and improving sentiment in the crypto market. Its findings are based on survey data and supporting 13 F filings, offering a position snapshot on how individuals and wealth managers across asset classes. Institutional portfolios, in particular, showed an average crypto allocation of 2.5%, reflecting a market shift toward greater on-chain exposure. No kidding, we know it's coming. While individual investors maintain the highest absolute weighting in crypto, the report highlights a growing commitment among institutional and family offices. Bitcoin dominates allocations. Bitcoin continues to lead among crypto holdings with 63% of survey respondents confirming exposure, up from 48% in January. So 15% increase in a month, I guess in 2 months in terms of exposure. Ethereum remains in second with nearly 20% and Solana 17%. Solana is ready to overtake Ethereum in terms of allocation. It looks like other altcoins include Polkadot, Cardano, XRP, registered little to no presence in investor portfolios, suggesting a move away from the broader diversification within the crypto holdings. The narrowing focus on Bitcoin coincides with investors reassessing altcoin risk and increased comfort with Bitcoin's relative liquidity, infrastructure, and perceived regulatory clarity. This trend is evident despite Ethereum's continued relevance and growing interest in alternatives outside the top 2 digital assets. No, it's not. We don't care about this infinite supply coin, quite honestly. Respondents primarily cited diversification, 30%, as the leading reason for including crypto, followed by interest in distributed ledger technology and speculative motives. Bullshit. Yeah, the leading reason is diversification. No, the leading reason is to make frickin' money, folks. While the client demand has dropped compared to the previous quarter, speculative interest has increased, suggesting a reevaluation of crypto's role in multi-asset portfolios. Yeah, so ultimately, more people are putting their money back into Bitcoin. It goes, as we always talk about, where the price goes down a little bit and everybody's, oh, crypto's dead. Oh my God, I'm taking my money out. I'm taking my FOMO. FOMO on the way down, right? They're fearing that they're going to lose all their money and that crypto's going nowhere and crypto's going to be, go to zero, when we all know this is not the situation. They're selling their Bitcoin on the low like idiots instead of just waiting it out for a couple weeks or a couple months or a couple years if they need to. And BlackRock's coming in and saying, thank you, I'm buying your Bitcoin on sale. So not too bright with the retail investors. It's been shown that the retail investors are selling their Bitcoin and the institutional investors are buying up the Bitcoin that they're selling. So guys, stop it. Be smart. We all know that it's not our viewers that are selling their biddy, right? We are hodlers. We're in this for the long term. Make no mistake, when it's time to sell, when the Bitcoin height of the bull market is in, it's time to sell. It's either time to sell or it's time to hodl. But we're certainly not going to wait for it to bottom out and then sell, right? If the bottom comes and you're like, shit, I was camping for 2 weeks and, I didn't have exposure to any news or anything or internet, and I came back and things gone to shit. Well, you don't sell it. You hang on to it. Needless to say, coming between September and November, you should really be watching this very closely. You want to get out in the top 80%. If you got in early, you wouldn't give a shit if you got out at the 80% top instead of the 100% top, or just on the other side of when things start going down, because you've made your gains. It's only these fools that get in late that need to make the 3% or 5% that they're dying for. Meanwhile, smart people like us, we got in way early, and we're gonna sell when everybody else is buying, and then when everybody else has sold in about a year and a half or 2 years, that's when we're gonna buy the shit again at the frickin' bottom and wait for the top. This is what the smart folks are doing, and guaranteed. A lot of institutional organizations are also doing the same. BlackRock has now moved to launch a $150 billion fund. Bitcoin stalls at 95,500 as resistance holds for the third day. Yeah, it keeps going up to very close to 96, and then just not sticking around at 96. We need to hold above that 96 level. That's the next real test for the biddy. The asset continues to oscillate near its all-time highs, but has struggled to post a decisive breakout this week. Market participants have been eyeing a sustained move above 96,000 for a trigger for renewed bullish momentum, but waning volume and macroeconomic caution have weighed down the BTC price. Yeah, you see this struggle to post decisive breakout this week. Are you really saying that, okay, so it was up for about 10 grand last week, and now we're upset because it didn't have a decisive breakout to 100 grand this week? Don't these people know how Bitcoin works? This is going to go up, then it's going to go sideways for a little bit. Maybe it's a few days, in some cases a few months, and then it's going to pump again, right? This has been going on for months and months and months and months. I feel like it's going to be a little bit accelerated now because we are kind of getting into the real Bitcoin bull cycle toward the middle of the year. May, June, we were talking all-time highs in the last Bitcoin bull market. I'm going to pull up the full chart so we can see exactly when that bull market was. Let's check out the biddy and let's flip it into the big chart. And so here, let's go with the double peaks. Yeah, so it was in fact right in April, May where we hit the first all-time high in the last Bitcoin bull run. And then, of course, it dumped by, 30, 40, 50%. It got up to 60 grand. It dumped almost 50% before popping again to 70,000. And then it dumped, way down to fuck all, 15 grand, December of 2022. So a year and a couple months after that, it dumped next to garbage. So this, if we're going to play this thing out right, we want to be selling it up in here We don't care if we sell it right here, folks. Of course, fantastic if you do, but if you're selling it at this is what I was saying about 80% to the top, you did well, right? Don't be upset if you lost, a couple percent here in gains, because if you'd really be upset if you waited till it went down to here. This is where you go camping and you're taking a dump in the woods and you come back and you're like, what the fuck happened? My Bitcoin's down to nothing. So don't be that guy, right? Be around in these times. Sell it on the high. Wait around. Don't get impatient. You're going to have to wait around about a year and a half. This is my plan. Again, this is not financial advice. You guys, there's a million shows out there. I'd recommend you watch them all and try and get a good understanding of what historically has happened. You can certainly bring up your own charts and figure this stuff out. Additionally, it's a good thing to do, and it'll get you a reasonable understanding of where we're at, where we've been, and you can take these and zoom right in, right? I'm not showing you anything here by, you want to zoom the hell in, do this, right? Get a good feel like what actually is going on, and maybe this kind of chart, all you have to do is this, right? Narrow it down, and you want to talk banana zone? Well, you just have to narrow out the chart a little bit, and you damn straight you get that banana zone. Also, the time, I've got my indicators here. Somewhere you can do it daily, monthly. What do I have here? 1 month. I guess that's the max we can do. I think we can do 1 day. And, then we get a much clearer understanding of what's going on in the charts. So I would suggest go in, play with this stuff a bit, right? And you can get a really good feel of where the markets were, where the markets are going. We see, I personally feel like we were right here in this bull cycle. Right, exactly here. There's a big pump up. This is indicative of what Bitcoin does, right? It pumps up. Everybody thinks, oh yeah, the bull run, yeah. They jump in, and then it fucks everybody right up the reamer, and it drops down to shit. And this is where everybody thinks, oh no, it's over. Bitcoin's done. Sell. They sell it down here. They lose their shirts, and meanwhile, it goes sideways for a bit, and then it pops right up. Now, this here looks like it happens in a day, but no way. These are, months that go by, right? Look, April, where we hit the bottom, April 5th, so a month until we got back up here. But this timeline, we're talking November. In this chart, it looks like a day has passed, but no, this is November. And this is now over 6 months later. So similar kind of thing. Everybody over here, great, bull run. Then they shit their pants. They sell it at the bottom, and then it proceeds to run right up, right past them because they thought Bitcoin was dead. It's still, I feel like it's still early. We are currently kind of right in here. And we're waiting for this huge run-up that should hopefully happen in the next couple months. But as we've seen, Bitcoin's on its own vector, despite all this tariff talk, despite the stocks going to shit in the traditional financial markets. Bitcoin, again, on its own vector, uncorrelated with the stock market, and I don't know if it ever was. I think it was just going sideways the way it often does, and now it's kind of ready to pop. So a good time. It's not too late to get into the market. The best time to get into the market is when FTX is folding. Every company's saying, don't buy your Bitcoin. Your grandma's calling you saying, don't you dare buy the Bitcoin. And this kind of thing, and that's exactly when you want to buy, when the shit is tanked to nothing, right? If you got in at 15 grand, man, would you be laughing right now? And we're not even at the peak. You know, this could run up into the 300,000s very easily. And if you picked it up at the low when everybody else was out and crapping their pants because, you know, Bitcoin was dead, well, it wasn't, folks. Let's get this straight, and it won't die. You can't tell me that BlackRock has $500 billion in Bitcoin and Bitcoin's going to die, right? Pardon me, they don't have $500 billion. They've got $500 million, is it? No, sorry, 50 billion is what they've got. They've got the same as Michael Saylor. They have 500,000 Bitcoin, over 500,000 Bitcoin. So they ain't buying 500,000 Bitcoin if Bitcoin's going to zero. Think about it, right? These guys, you may not like them because they're, you know, big corporate, we'll call them elitists, but they can teach us a thing or two about money and when to buy and when to sell. And for them to have currently holding 500,000 biddies, and for Michael Saylor to be, you know, holding 500,000 biddy, and for the U.S. Government saying we are now putting a Bitcoin treasury reserve, and for the Swiss bank, central bank, saying we want to create a Bitcoin reserve, and so on and so on. There's news coming out every day. North Carolina, I saw, put a new Bitcoin reserve bill today. Some other state yesterday. Over 50% of the U.S. states have their own individual bills to adopt BIDI as a strategic reserve. So it's not going to zero, right? But if you can buy it when it's close to zero, you're doing all right, aren't you? So as of Wednesday's close, Bitcoin had posted a modest 0.4 gain over 24 hours and was up 0.7 on the week. Boo-hoo, right? According to CoinGecko, the global cryptocurrency market held at $3.04 trillion, reflecting a 3% daily gain, but much of the momentum remains concentrated in the Bitcoin and Ethereum. Bitcoin dominance stands at 62. We saw it actually stands at 64.5. We just went through that a moment ago. As altcoins lag after US SEC delayed verdicts on ETF filings until June. That's okay for us. That just means there might be a little more time for us to get in, right? BlackRock moves to tokenize $150 billion treasury fund via blockchain infrastructure. BlackRock has filed with the U.S. SEC to create a blockchain-enabled digital share class for its $150 billion institutional U.S. Treasury money market fund. The new share, we announced this about a month ago, and it looks like now it's actually happening. The new share class, named DLT Shares, aims to implement blockchain technology for record keeping and real-time ownership tracking on a distributed ledger. This is their actual filing for it. According to the filing, the fund will not use blockchain for managing portfolios or holding cryptocurrencies. Instead, DLT shares will be structured to mirror existing shares while utilizing blockchain to improve settlement transparency and reduce administrative friction. The offering will be limited to institutional investors with a minimum investment threshold set at $3 million. So, minimum investment of $3 million. So they're not going for the. They're not selling this or trying to sell it to the, you and me. $3 million minimum investment. BNY Mellon has been named as the primary infrastructure partner responsible for integrating and maintaining the blockchain-based record-keeping system. This development marks a significant step in the financial industry's incremental adoption of blockchain, not through digital assets, but through tokenized infrastructure that supports legacy systems. Although the product does not involve crypto exposure, its implications for market sentiment are far-reaching. Institutional adoption of blockchain-enabled infrastructure could legitimize the broader crypto ecosystem, offering tailwinds to assets like Bitcoin through narrative alignment and technological validation. Okay, fair enough. So BlackRock, yet another product, and they are taking the blockchain name in vain here, I guess, is the best way to put it. But minimum $3 million to get in on this shit, and they're gonna do well, right? Everything these guys touch, they do well. They bought the biddy went up. They bought 500,000 of the biddy's gonna keep going up. So we're still about midway in the crypto 4-year cycle, so there's definitely still time for people to get in on this and make a pretty penny. Not too late. I'm still trying to buy the relative dip on certain coins. I feel like Bitcoin, if we get a 2 or 3x at this point, would be respectable. And I'm looking more like at, Solana and XRP. XRP's got a ETF coming out probably in a couple months. So I expect that that's going to pop once that comes out. Solana, once all the meme coins start taking off, Solana's going to take off with it, kind of as the bull run happens. Generally how it works is Bitcoin first goes up, then it kind of sits a little sideways or goes down a bit, and maybe a couple days later or a day later, that's when all the shit coins start jumping in. And as we've seen, with coins like Pepe and Peanut the Squirrel, they're not going up 2x and 3x like the biddy. They're going up 10,000x, a gazillion x, right? So a good gauge, everybody's watching the biddy, right? The whole industry watches the biddy. If the biddy goes up, everything generally is going to go up. Bitcoin is more stable. And these little shit coins, they might go up one day and they might go right back down to zero the next day. So if you're going to get in and you're going to play this shit coinery, be careful, be ready to jump in, be ready to jump out. And in some cases, these things pop for weeks, in some cases it's days, in some cases it's 45 minutes. So be careful with the shit coinery, folks. The moment we've all been waiting for. Adam Back, Bitcoin OG, says $200 trillion market cap now in play as Bitcoinization, holy moly, takes shape. I know this word very well, and I've said it a million times, but it's still a mouthful. Hyperbitcoinization takes shape. Blockstream Chief Executive Adam Back has a huge prediction for Bitcoin market cap. Back says on social media platform X that the business intelligence firm strategy and other companies employing a BTC strategy policy are an arbitrage of a dislocation between the Bitcoin future and today's fiat world. A sustainable and scalable $100 to $200 trillion trade front-running hyper-Bitcoinization, scalable enough for most big listed companies to move to Bitcoin Treasury. Back urges a strategy involving the flagship crypto is a logical and sustainable arbitrage, but not forever. The driver is Bitcoin price going up over 4-year periods faster than interest and inflation. Post-hyperbitcoinization, MNAV probably trends to 1. MNAV stands for multiple of net asset value and refers to the ratio of a company's stock price in relation to the value of the Bitcoin that the company holds per share. Back also says BTC treasuries are part of a long-term effort to reprice the world in Bitcoin. Reprice it, baby. The Blockstream CEO urges Bitcoin will become the hurdle rate for operating companies. Bitcoin is trading at 94,000. So there's not much to this article, but effectively they're saying that everything is going to be priced in Bitcoin, especially with organizations. So again, when we look at Bitcoin, we can't look at Bitcoin today. Look at this market cap. They're predicting $200 trillion. So the total market cap of all assets in the world right now is approximately $900 trillion. So they're basically saying that 20% of the world's assets are going to be priced into Bitcoin. Priced in Bitcoin. So it would be 10 to 20% of world assets, 100 to 200 trillion market cap, priced in Bitcoin. So putting this into perspective, guys, if you think back of the internet, right? Sure, it was a thing, and, you know, cool. You can check some porn, right? What was the internet? I remember, was it T20, or, you know, you used to have to chat using a terminal service way back when the internet was started. I'd be able to log into my internet and hit, you know, on Windows 95 or 95, 98 was some shitty old unsecure Windows crap. And I'd be able to hit network neighborhood, and I could see every single computer on the huge telcos network. Every single person who had internet in everybody's house, their computer was there visible for me to double click on and check whatever I wanted to on their computer. So, you know, fast tracking, you know, 15, 20 years, what is not done on the internet now, right? So when you look at Bitcoin, we're still talking about its infancy. When you look at AI, we're still talking about its infancy. So you, instead of looking at the price fluctuations that happen every day, up and down, up and down, up and down, like a yo-yo, you can't look at that. You want to look at the long-term objective. What is the end game here? And when you get to the end game, if you're lucky enough to have a Bitcoin or multiples or even 0.1 Bitcoin, this is going to be worth huge amounts, right? Right now, the Bitcoin market cap is just around $2 trillion, right? And then this is talking about 200 trillion. So what's that, a 200x, I suppose, or 100x? That doesn't even seem like enough, to be honest. 100x market cap, so 100x the current price. So let's add a couple zeros to the price of Bitty. It's 100,000. So we're talking $10 million Bitcoin. This does not seem unreasonable at all. And that's just based on market cap. That's not based on any kind of speculation. And that would be, you know, in the stock market, when you buy a stock, you're actually buying it at, you know, if Apple is actual market values is, you know, we know the value here, right? We look at it every day. If we go to this, so let's say Apple, $3 trillion. When you're buying their stock, you're buying it at, more often than not, a 15 times valuation. Now, buying it with a valuation of $3 trillion, you're buying it at 45 trillion valuation. So 3x the actual value of the company. So when we're talking about a $200 trillion market cap, and then you multiply that by a 15 or 20x multiplier in terms of the price, So we said 10 million, and then let's multiply that by 15, right? I can't even do the math, but we're talking into the, what's that, 150 million bucks a biddy. So it's something to wait for. It's something to look forward to. Another strategy, and not trying to time the market, of course, and what always ends up working better for folks is not trying to time the market. Instead, it's HODL, right? If you had HODLed from the beginning of when the stock market first opened, $1 would be worth, I think I saw it was like $4 or $6 billion. So think of it that way. Think long term. If you're able to hold it, hold it. If you have to sell and you need the money, well, what are you going to do, right? Try and sell it on the high, and then when it's time again, when the market bottoms out, buy it again at the low. If you get 0.1 Bitcoin and you sell it at the top, well, you wait for things to tank again, and maybe you can get 0.3 or 0.5 Bitcoin, or maybe even 1 Bitcoin after the price have dropped again. Remember, folks, money is abundant, money is everywhere. It's time that's scarce, so use your time wisely. Always spend less money than what you earn, so that way you always stay in the green. You don't want to keep funding the bank the way most people do. Keep your money. You don't need to buy all this shit to keep advertising and the newest car and the newest freaking garbage and sell. You buy one piece of plastic crap, and then 3 years later you replace it with another more fancy piece of plastic shit, right? So the smart people, the real rich and wealthy people, they're not doing that. They actually live pretty modestly, and they are investing their money properly, wisely, and they're doing it for the long term. So start saving today. The younger you start saving and investing, the better off you are. Hopefully you can retire when you're 40 or 45 if you use that strategy. And if you've got a great idea, start today with that idea. Don't wait. Even if you're not ready, start today and things should come together for you. Hopefully you found the stream enjoyable. It would be fantastic if you liked, shared, commented, and especially subscribed on my path to over 500 subscribers. And we will see you on the next stream, folks. Thanks so much for joining.